Hello, and welcome to today's training session. Today, we're going to be going over the in-interview experience. This is where, as an interviewer, you'll be able to simultaneously work with candidates on different coding questions, code review questions, whiteboard, whatever it may be. On today's call, we're going to be going over the general interface, how to move across different questions, some of the key features that you should be aware of, and of course, some of the nifty tips and tricks. Getting us started here, the first thing you'll of course need to do is log in to CodeSignal using the interview link that was either provided to you by a team member or maybe one that you created yourself. This link is actually the same link that you'll be able to use with the candidate. That said, if the candidate for some reason does not have the interview link, you also have access to a quick link here at the top, which you can copy to the clipboard and send to the candidate if necessary. When you first join an interview as the interviewer, you'll immediately be taken to the template area. If a template was associated with your interview, you'll be able to launch this template right away. Once you launch the template, you'll actually be able to see the various questions here at the top. You can see question 1 is find max. We have some pre-written code, and when you go to the question description, you'll see the description for this question. Very important to note that both you and the candidate have access to the question descriptions, so you guys will always be on the same page. While you're generally working through the different questions with the candidate, it's important to note that over here on the top, you'll be able to either switch between the next question or use the down arrow to go to the question list in case you want to switch between even further questions. Now, before we have the candidate join today's interview, I want to call out a few different areas on the left-hand side. These are different areas that you, as an interviewer, will be able to access. The candidates will really only have access to the question description and the info tab, and then finally the settings here. As an interviewer, you have access to the lobby, which you'll need to do to actually start the interview when the candidate arrives. If available, you'll be able to switch between different environments, like quick start environments, specific questions that you can launch, or templates that may have been accessed as well. Very important to note that if your template is locked, you actually won't have access to the switch, and you'll be limited to only the pre-designated questions available. Otherwise, you'll be able to view the question description as previously mentioned. If available, you'll also have access to Cosmo AI, and this is an AI assistant. You'll be able to enable Cosmo AI and select the specific assistant that you'd like, whether that's Cosmo, who can only help with support and syntax reference, a full copilot, or a copilot that may be slightly more limited in that they don't have access to the question description. Regardless, when you select one of the AI assistants, you'll be able to see here that Cosmo is ready to go. Please be aware that the candidate will be the one prompting Cosmo, but as the interviewer, you will immediately and in real time be able to see the prompts that the candidate sends and Cosmo's responses. You also have access to the feedback tab, and here you'll be able to view various details, including, for example, if there's customized feedback, you can see that the feedback here is around candidate thought processes. You can look at different details, including the specific leveling perhaps, or attention to detail, or if you'd like, you can always just write your notes in free form here. You can see different info around the specific coding environment. For example, this is a single function code writing question, and you can see some of the parameters within it. If available, we like to provide a solution, but the solution may not be defined for every single language, but you'll be able to see a list of predefined languages that have solutions as well. Finally, you'll have access to settings, and these settings are personal to you, so feel free to update this before the candidate arrives. A couple other key areas to keep aware of is down here, you'll be able to see some of the different areas, including if you are not using any type of conferencing, you can actually directly call the candidate, and you can join the call, update your settings, or you can also chat with the candidate as well if necessary. In the upper right-hand corner, you have access to viewing the different languages available, and you can select the language that you want to work with the candidate. When changing the language, this will change the language for both yourself and the candidate. Additionally, you have the option to fully reset the code for the question and language in case you need a hard reset. Now, let's go ahead and have the candidate join here. And you can see once the candidate joins, you'll be notified in the lobby. You can see the candidate has arrived, and down here, you'll see that the candidate is now in the experience. You can go ahead and start the interview, and now you and the candidate will be connected. You can see here that if the candidate goes and begins to work on the problem, then you'll actually be able to see it in real time. At this point, this is where you're going to want to work with the candidate. You can discuss with them about, hey, this is a pretty good start, but it looks like your syntax is a little bit wrong. And as you go through and update things, A, B, for example, then you'll be able to work with the candidate and explain the rationale. It's important that this is a collaborative experience. That way the candidate feels comfortable and you're still getting a good signal from them. At any time, you or the candidate can also run tests here on the bottom right-hand corner, and you'll be able to see the tests that are passed, some of the different tests in here, and of course, it's always helpful to submit the solution whenever available. Once you're complete with this question, you can go to next question in the upper left-hand corner, and at this point, you'll switch to the next question. There are a couple other areas that I think are important to mention. For one thing, if you want to work on any type of system design question, you can also open a whiteboard here in the bottom left-hand corner. This will open a whiteboard that overlays on top of the coding question. And this is, of course, accessible to both you and the candidate. So if you add a circle, for example, the candidate can go through and add a square within that. Really good for system design and thought processes. And of course, you will have a saved copy of the final version of the whiteboard after the interview is finished. One other good tip to note is if you're working in any type of perhaps file system question, for example, let's go ahead and open up this Android Hello World, you'll be able to see a few different areas. You'll of course still have this description on the left-hand side, but now you have multiple files, different areas within the code, and a preview as well. I'm going to go ahead and shrink the description so that we can focus on the code. As you can imagine, if the candidate is working on different files, it can be a little bit hard to follow them as they go through. What you're able to do is you're able to click the candidate's name here at the bottom, and now you'll be following them. So as the candidate goes and opens up different files, you'll be able to follow along, ensuring that you're always in conversation and aware of what's going on. The final area I'd like to touch on is a neat but small little feature, and it's this red square right next to the language. When the red square is red, you'll see that the candidate is actually not on the specific interview tab, meaning that they may be focused on something else, looking at other tools, or just generally not part of the interview. When the tab is green, you'll see that that's when they are on the tab. They'll be moving around and focusing on different questions. So if you see the tab is red for a period of time, the candidate, it then goes back to paying attention. You may want to dig into that and understand why the candidate was not on the tab for a little while. Outside of that, you'll be able to run the interviews in a very seamless, collaborative experience. And once everything has been finished up, you'll see that the candidate will be able to leave. And of course, you'll see their name disappears on the bottom. At that time, once everything is complete, you'll be able to finish the interview in the upper right-hand corner. And you can go ahead and finish up here. At this point, you'll be able to review the questions that were asked, write any final feedback as necessary, and then leave the session altogether. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions, please of course refer to our knowledge bank, and you always have access to our support or CSMs for additional assistance. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.